Michael Jackson, before he died, was the biggest artist in the world. Everybody loved Michael Jackson. We know that Michael Jackson would go to countries and he would have people passing out. Now we know that he came a long way from Gary, Indiana, and I forgot the name of the street. Was it Jackson Street or something like that? With the afro, and he had the dance machine and all that kind of stuff, and then the PYT albums. But then he went like pop and mainstream, right, and went global. And when you get that big, you have a lot of people that's coming after your ancestors, coming after your masters, that's coming after everything, right? And now there's a conspiracy going on, and I'm just using that term conspiracy for safekeepings, that Michael Jackson was unalive, man, right? People saying this.
As I've said on so many occasions, Michael Jackson was a business genius. He was a genius. He wasn't just a musical genius. Michael Jackson mastered all aspects of the music industry. Remember when Eminem dissed him and he bought Eminem's catalog? Michael Jackson bought Eminem's catalog when he dissed him. Mike was gangster, and Mike was murdered because when Michael Jackson purchased the Beatles catalog, that automatically made him 50% owner of Sony Records. Art. Sony Records never forgave Michael Jackson for buying the Beatles catalog. They wanted the Beatles catalog back. So what did they do? They sabotaged Michael Jackson's last album, Invincible, which automatically put Michael Jackson into debt. They wanted Michael Jackson to satisfy his debt by giving up the Beatles catalog. And Michael said, no, I'm going to go on tour. Everybody wants to see me again. I'm going to go on tour, make this money, pay all off. And Michael Jackson made a mistake. He came back to LA to practice at the Staples Center, where another assassinated black celebrity, Kobe Bryant, used to play. And they murdered Michael Jackson. And that black doctor was made the fall guy. He only went to jail for a couple years. He's out now, I believe, and he's going to live happily ever after for keeping his mouth shut about how the music industry murdered Michael Jackson. And also keep in mind, Art, Michael Jackson was brought up on pedophilia charges as soon as he entered a bid to buy Marvel Comics. Michael Jackson was going to be the owner of Marvel Comics. Imagine if Michael Jackson would have produced a Black Panther movie. Imagine if Michael Jackson would have produced the Black Panther movie. The white power structure of America didn't want Michael Jackson owning Marvel Comics, so they set it up for him to be accused of sexual molestation. And remember, one of the white boys who he was accused of touching went on one of them talk shows, what was about 3 years ago? And what did he say? Michael Jackson never touched us.
See, those people of that protected class didn't think Michael Jackson would become the shrewd businessman that he became. Michael Jackson, he brought the Beatles catalog, Eminem catalog. He James Brown. What's the guy? Tutti Frutti Rudy. I forgot his name, but the one who put I'm picturing his face, but I can't say his name. The one who put the Rolling Stones, and he put everybody on. All those white folks that came over from Europe. Little Richard. He put them all on, right? The real king, right? He put them all on, and they didn't give him his props, and he ended up getting all of those masters and giving them back to those brothers, man. And them people behind the scenes hated Michael Jackson for that, right? Now, when these accusations start coming out and people start coming with accusations against Michael Jackson because they wanted to take his power away, because they want to control everything. His family stood in solidarity with him. But there was a guy named, a guy from that protected class, was a guy, Jack Gordon. He was an ex-felon, and he was in bed with those groups, and he was managing Latoya Jackson at the time. Now, Latoya, remember, the family stood in solidarity with Mike, but remember, Latoya flipped, right? And she went on TV and she said this, remember?
I must tell you that this is very difficult for me.
That Michael is my brother. I love him a great deal, but I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. And if I remain silent, then that means that I feel the guilt and the humiliation that these children are feeling, and I think it's very wrong. I have seen checks payable to the parent of these children. And I don't know if these children were apparently bought to the parents by Michael or not, but I have seen these checks, and I've seen these checks through my mother. She showed me these checks that Michael had written to these children, and it's for a great amount. And I'm not speaking pennies. The sums are a very, very large amount. And this is my first time talking about it, and I never want to speak about it. I never want to say anything about it. But I think it's sad because I am a victim myself, and I know what it feels like. And these kids are going to be scarred for the rest of their life, and I don't want to see any more innocent small children being affected this way. I love Michael very dearly, but I feel even more sorry for these children because they don't have a life anymore. They don't. Stop and you think for 1 second, and you tell me what 35-year-old man is going to take a little boy and stay with him for 30 days? And take another boy and stay with him for 5 days in a room and never leave the room. kids and do that are 9, 10, 11 years old.
Now, after she made these comments, now remember, she was married to this guy, Jack Gordon. Now, this guy was a former gangster. He was in bed with, a lot of mobsters. And it was alleged that he tried to bribe the Nevada Gaming Commission to get some new games into the casinos over there because he was working with, gangsters behind the scenes, right? He ended up getting caught, got snitched on, went to jail, and the commissioner's wife ended up having a bomb planted in her car that detonated, right? So like this dude was the real deal. He wasn't nothing to be played with. Now it's a legend because everything is alleged. When she took her trip over there to that protected place, right? Those executives went to Jack Gordon and told him what needed to be done, and you needed to flip her so she can go on there and say all the things that we need her to say because our secret weapon is accusations, as they do to everybody now. So at some point, she was able to get out from under this dude and then go back on TV and renege all the things she said, go back on what she said. Because she was saying that she was forced to say these things because her life was in danger.
Such an abusive relationship. The things that went on that the world had no clue that was going on. And he promised me if I tried to escape or get away or didn't do what he wanted or asked me to do, that he would kill me. And he was very adamant about it. I knew that that's exactly what he would do. So I figured if I can escape this and get away, then other people can do it too, because you're in a situation where you feel that you cannot get away from that. And I don't know what it is, but I think they get to your self-esteem.
You accuse Michael of being a...
Yes.
But I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes.
Gordon gave me this piece of paper and he says, read this. He goes, you better say this, you say this.
Jack Gordon forced you to say that your brother was a... Did you think he was?
No, I did not. The courts have proven that too as well.
Why did Jack Gordon want you to say that your brother was a...
He had this hatred towards my brother that I can never explain to you why it was.
Just to make things very clear, you recanted your accusation. Are you sure today that your brother never had any undue relationship with a child?
Barbara, Michael is not. He is not.
He is not a...
No, he's not.
This is why I tell you don't trust those athletes these athletes and entertainers and all this kind of stuff, because it's a stage, right? And they prop you up to make them billions of dollars while they give you pennies on a dollar, right? They make you famous, but they want to control your money, the purse strings. They want to control everything. And when you don't do what they say, man, you just turn up unalived, or they put you in jail, or they accuse you. All of a sudden you got 88 women coming out saying you did these bad things to them out of nowhere, right? 30 years ago. It's the same tactics. And what's funny? The media and the public and the people fall for it. The people fall for it. It's the same tactic over and over and over again with different people. How do people just allow this stuff to happen? And y'all just believe it. Because they know that they can use that as... Man, listen, it gets crazy, right? So this guy, he would have owned most of Sony. He'd have had all of the masters of all these different artists, right? As you see, Umar Johnson said he'd own like a lot of the comics. He'd own a lot of stuff. He'd have been way too powerful as a black man globally for people, for one man to have that much power. So when they had that meeting, they said, yo, we got to neutralize this dude, man. So he gave her this and said, you need to go in there and say these things. If not, man, you're going to meet your demise and your family, right? But she went on there, and after she got out from under him, and she started saying, that this didn't happen. And she's telling the world, like, yo, this is what they were doing. Right, but by that time, they ruined all her credibility to the point where nobody cares about what she's saying anymore. All everybody cared about now was Wacko Jacko.
I knew Michael was surrounded by people that positioned themselves in his life, positioned themselves to control and take advantage of him. And that's what bothered me more than anything else, because I knew something terrible would happen at the end, not to mention the fact that Michael constantly told me, Latoya, if I die, they're going to murder me. They're going to kill me. He would tell me that, Barbara. When I found out he had actually passed, I said, no, it wasn't an accident. He was murdered.
Your brother was murdered.
I always believed that from day one, when I found out that he was no longer with us. I said, I'm not going to accept anything else, Barbara. They could have told me a heart attack. They could have told me he had fallen off a ladder, and I would have said, no, it's not a heart attack. He was murdered. Did he fall off a ladder? No, he was murdered.
Who murdered your brother?
I don't know exactly who. I think there are more players involved than we know. This is just my opinion. This is what I feel. I know what Michael was afraid of. I know that when you're in a position...
What was he afraid of?
He was afraid of his life. He would say, I'm afraid of my life. I'm afraid they're going to assassinate me. I'm afraid they're going to kill me. He would always say that, Barbara.
When you think about it, all this stuff is a joke. They had the audacity to say that Michael Jackson was in debt. Michael Jackson music was selling every day globally, all over the world, and he owned like 60% of Sony. He wasn't in no debt. They created that narrative, man, in order to take him out, right? So all of a sudden, once he gets unalive, they go, and the estate now is in debt, and Sony buys the his proportion back for $700 million, right? So just imagine while he was alive how much it was worth, because they was trying to get him to sell. He's like, no, I just go on tour and make that money back. That ain't no problem, because he had this so-called alleged debt, which we know was bull crap, man. Which we know was bull crap. Man, so like all this stuff is funny, man. It's funny to me, man. But then they had the guy Conrad Muhammad, right? Because somebody got to fall on the sword. Somebody gotta somebody gotta take the blame. So this dude Conrad Muhammad, right? He comes into the into full view, and he gets allegedly blamed for the unaliving of Michael Jackson.
Administered by this man. Did Dr. Conrad Murray murder your brother?
Barbara, something went wrong.
It has been reported that Michael's eldest son, Prince, was summoned by Dr. Murray to help resuscitate Michael, Prince's own father. That must have been a terrible experience for him. Is it true?
Yes, he did call Prince. He watched him do this, Barbara, and you don't do that to a child. You don't do that to a child, especially when you knew, prior to asking that child to come up, that Michael was no longer alive.
You feel that Michael was dead long before he went to the hospital?
Oh, yes.
Latoya, you signed the death certificate.
Yes, I did. The doctor wouldn't sign it.
Dr. Conrad Murray would not sign the death
sign
certificate?
It. No.
Did you find that strange?
Everyone did.
From the very beginning, Latoya has said that Michael Jackson was murdered.
It was murder. I think someone did it. That's my opinion.
But it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that the Los Angeles County coroner backed up her claim, ruling the death a homicide, although not necessarily premeditated murder. Do you blame Dr. Murray?
Barbara, I blame any and everybody who was instrumental in Michael's life, providing him with drugs, because it was wrong.
Your brother was a wonderful and sweet person, you say.